Alright guys, Copper Cutlass here. I am underneath the car today. Well, I'm on the other end of the frame. I haven't crawled in there yet. There's a better in-close of the damage to the frame rail underneath. I hope I can get that. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to make my templates. You see our open area? That's the area we got to box. And then you see this questionable thing going on here with this angle iron? That's my trans mount right there. But I did all of this knowing that I would eventually box this, and this is going to get welded to the frame. And then I'm going to put some square tubing in here because I have my trans mount with the current style of fitment that I have pretty damn level and good. So I'm going to go ahead and run with that, and I'm just going to make this more sturdy and positive on there versus this bolt-in setup that I have. So this is just another little thing I'm going to end up doing, but our material's already here. I just have to buy some thick wall square tubing in here to space it out and put some threaded inserts in there so that I can bolt it all down. So I'm going to be making templates. I'm going to show you guys how I like to do that, but I'm making this in little sections. You can see on that side the crack right there and the buckle. All these lines eventually have to get removed, but for now, for what I'm going to be doing, I can make my templates, and my templates are going to be rough. They're not going to be dead set because we're probably going to have to trim to fit a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead, sign off for now, make a couple things, crawl under there, and then show you guys how I do it. Alright guys, so I'm a little off camera right now for a reason, and so I'm a little too big to fit between the frame rails on either end of the car. There is just enough room to work under here. I finally crawled under here, but I'm going to show you guys how I got to crawl underneath here. So I got to go to the front of the car, go around the cherry picker, come in here, crawling in. All right, we're in. So yeah, it's kind of a jog to get in here, but space restraints and everything. So all right, so the reason why I wanted to be down here for this, I actually had to crawl out first, but I made my templates, and as you can see, I got F for front, M for middle, and R for the rear. I'm making this box section in 3 sections. Now here's the reason why I'm doing that. One, even though you have a couple of extra welds, you can split it up. And I'm leaning towards doing 1-inch stitches for this car. I think for the power level that I'm going to be putting through this car, I think like 2-inch stitches, like 2 inches apart, will one, cut down on the weld time. It'll definitely add some rigidity, and ultimately for the goal of this repair, this is the way we're gonna go. So you can see the middle section is gonna be the first one we're gonna do. This is the most critical because this is where our buckle is, where our crack is. We have to do the inside repairs first. And then my front one, you can see I notched it so that I can still scoop in my lines, which I want to be able to do that. And right now I do have some overlap, but I cannot cut these to length until I figure this out. But these are our rough templates to guide us on what to do to kind of be ready. So our saving grace is that the back one does slide in. So if I do cut these exactly to the right length, I can space them apart and get them to butt up. They don't have to be 100% dead nuts. You can shift them around, and if you're going to be doing it in pieces, then it's fine. And these I want to be as flat as possible because our taper, if I was to make this on an angle, it would hit on the floor. So that's another thing to consider if you're going to do this kind of repair. And I do have some lines here that are kind of getting in the way. All these lines on both sides of the car are going to get pulled over the next couple of days. So I'm making this in 3 sections, and our middle section is going to kind of act like our strut, if you will. So this one will get welded all the way across the top, all the way across the bottom. And then these two are just going to act like braces using, a long, inch and a half, 2-inch stitch weld, whatever we decide to do. I got to measure it and split the difference and figure out that. So we're going to do stitch weld, stitch weld, stitch weld, stitch weld, stitch weld, just a bunch of short beads, top and bottom. And then, the front is just going to get, a couple of stitch welds, and that should it should add some serious rigidity to this frame. More than enough for what I believe we need. So I think that's going to work out really good. And obviously another thing too is, you guys, I'm using like poster board. I got this down at the local drugstore. They got a little school section there. And it's easy to cut, it's easy to mark. Use your square just like you would in carpentry. And you don't have to make the cut dead nuts, because keep in mind that when you cut your steel, unless you have a shear or you have to shop cut it, which I may or may not, I don't know how much they charge for that yet, I got a call. You don't have to be perfect. And this frame has a taper. So like at the front here, we're just going to have enough space to catch the bottom corner of the frame and catch that top lip that you guys see right here. And I cut all the pieces to 5 inches. This frame's got a natural taper in it, but I want to weld the patch panels onto this inside corner lip here, because if I weld it to the frame, that does nothing. You got to think about your like typical geometry, right? The triangle is a pretty solid shape, but you have to have solid points for it to work. I mean, ultimately, I believe from an architectural standpoint, the arc is the strongest design. But that's why you typically see most race cars with like roll cages that usually are triangulated. I mean, your halos are usually bent up and round. But when you're talking about like a 10-point cage or 8-point cage or 6-point cage or roll bar, usually everything is on triangles. And I think if I weld this right to the edge of the frame, this added corner here, it kind of makes it like an oblong, weird, like square, where I don't think we're really going to be adding a whole lot of strength. Whereas if I weld this to the inside corner where this lip is, because you guys can see, you got your drop here over the top, you got this here, and then you have, I'm blocking the light, so I got to move my arm. But then you got this corner, and then this flat. I think if I welded this flat, it's going to be weak all in here. I think if I welded this inner corner here, it would be good. Or maybe even if I welded to this corner, it'd be good. But that one will be harder, because welding on this corner is more forgiving than on top of this corner. Whereas if I weld on this corner, I might miss it and go underneath, which weakens things up. Versus I'm trying to weld right at this inside corner joint there. That's my thinking, at least. Obviously, I got to remove all these lines. I got to prep all this out. And now, the other thing too is, obviously we got an outside repair and a top side repair. These are going to be easy. These I'm not going to go crazy with. I'm just going to, now keep in mind, on this repair, I'm going to go with like 120 thickness metal. So that's almost 1/8 of an inch. 1/8 of an inch is 0.125. I'm going 0.120 or 100. I want to go a little bit thicker on the inside. And on the outside, I'm going to just use, I'm going to match the same material, because I almost want it to be flush. But I really can't cut this up too much, because I don't want to lose any of the shape. So this repair up here is going to be very topical. We're going to weld our centerpiece, which is now a W, word. It's W for word. So I'm going to be welding this piece all the way across. And obviously we're going to weld up this crack before, and then grind it flush, and then weld this piece across. And then this should get some more integrity up top. But then you still have the crack on the other side. So we're going to go ahead and weld all the cracks, grind it down. And then I'm just going to put a piece of metal the same thickness as the frame, weld it around the perimeter. But what's most important is drilling it and doing a couple of plug welds at the top so that it doesn't twist apart. I doubt that it's going to twist apart, but it's going to be a good area to do that at. And then on the outside, once the top is done, I am going to cut out a window. And I really can't show you guys, but you can see this buckle. You can imagine it on the outside, right? This is sharp. This is cracked. So I'm going to cut a window out and then make a template and butt weld a flat piece in there. And that's the area where I am going to butt weld a piece in there, and that's going to be kind of a superficial repair along with structural, but it should be more than enough. And at this point, I think if next weekend we get the main box section done, that would be good. I don't know how fast we're going to be welding or moving along here. I think I'm going to hand welding duties over to my buddy. He's coming over with his welder, which it was his welder in the first place. If you guys had seen me using it in other videos here, it was his. And I'm just going to let him have at it. He's a phenomenal welder. He's a really good fabricator. And he's going to be the guy probably doing all the welding, and I'm just going to sit back and do all the bitch work. Because sometimes I got to step back and let my buddies help me out, and let them dig in. He's one of the very few guys I trust to work on my stuff with me. Him and I, it's an amazing dynamic. We can pretty much work without talking and know what each one of us needs from each other. So it's good to have a person like that. I think I mentioned that before in another video. So guys, that's what I got going on. My theory on the repair and what we're going to be doing. The nice thing about this frame is that it's already been blasted and cleaned. Whatever rust you see is very topical and surface. It's just dust. So cleaning this frame is going to be quick, easy, and painless. And I just got to remove the lines on both sides. So stick around, guys. We'll be working on this throughout the week and the weekend. So follow along, share, like, subscribe. Tell your homeboys and your G's, don't be getting that coronavirus. Don't drink Corona. So, signing off, guys. See ya.